Welcome back to CM's Garage for part 2 of the Lawn Boy 3052 restoration. Today we're going to go ahead and get the engine taken apart, degreased with the degreaser and the parts washer, and then we'll go ahead and get some paint on some of the parts here. So enjoy the video, stay tuned. Okay, let's go ahead and get this flywheel removed. Got my impact Milwaukee impact wrench here. Okay, for the flywheel, we're going to use this puller. Okay, now that we've got the flywheel off, you can see everything on top of the armature plate. It's fairly dirty. Everything needs to be pulled out and cleaned up. It all looks fairly original. I've never seen one of those black covers that cover the points there on any of my other mowers. I think this one is pretty much untouched. Okay, so right now I'm removing the governor and this little clip that holds on that plastic piece that covers the points. Right now I'm unscrewing the governor lever. And I pull that plastic piece off along with the governor lever and put the screws back in. We are unscrewing, or thinking about unscrewing, the coil there. There's two flathead screws that hold in that coil. Now I'm unscrewing the one screw that holds in the bottom of the points. There is a small clip that holds the points right there where my right hand is. There's a clip that holds the points on. So we're going to go ahead and get that removed. Be careful, it tends to want to pop off and fly across the room. I got lucky, mine flew off and landed directly on my shirt, so I was able to grab it, but if you lose that, good luck finding it. So it's kind of hard to see there. I should have had it angled the other direction, but yeah, off it goes, and I thought for sure it was gone, but no, it was on my shirt. There it is. Okay, so at this point I'm unscrewing the one screw that holds in the condenser. And up comes the point and the condenser, and it all kind of pops off at once. The wire from the condenser is still connected to the coil, and then the spark plug wire is still connected to the bottom of the coil, so I had to pull it up with a little effort to pull that wire out of the bottom of the coil. You can see there's a small clip that holds the spark plug wire into the armature plate, so I'm removing that. It's a bit tricky. Okay, so now that that clip is off, I'm removing that little insulator that runs on the crankshaft and pulling out the spark plug wire. There's 3 screws that I'm unscrewing right now that hold on the armature plate to the block of the engine. They were pretty tight, they're fairly tricky to get out, but I managed. It would have been nice if they were actually some type of bolt instead of just a flathead screw, but that's the way they designed them. Alright, so off pops the armature plate. We'll set that to the side. And now we're going to remove the 4 1/2-inch bolts that hold the cylinder head on. I'll speed this up for you. There we go. Alright, so off comes the cylinder head after you remove the 4 bolts. It was kind of snagged on the rings there. Now I'm going to go ahead and spray some degreaser on all the parts. Okay, so we went ahead and put the engine parts in the part washer. Let's get this thing started. So now that we've got everything degreased and cleaned, we're doing the silver engine enamel on the cylinder head and the flywheel parts. I didn't just use the degreaser and the parts washer. I also, after that, I power washed a lot of the stuff. So there was a lot more to actually cleaning the parts. I made it look pretty simple here, but it's always a lot of elbow grease for sure. Okay, so we're ready to reassemble the engine. I've got it completely cleaned up. I painted the cylinder head and the flywheel. All the small parts are cleaned, degreased. Coil, governor parts. Okay, let's go ahead and get this reassembled. For the reassembly, we're going to start with putting the piston back into the cylinder head and getting the cylinder head screwed onto the engine block. It's a little tricky getting the rings into the cylinder head, but you just kind of pinch them down. No reason for a spring compressor or anything on a small lawnmower engine like this. So there you go, you can see it sliding past the rings. And on goes the cylinder head. And now we're putting the 4 bolts back on that hold the head on. Tightening those up with a 1/2-inch wrench. Not sure if there's really a torque spec, but I got them fairly tight as you can go with an open end wrench. That's pretty much your only option. The Phillips head is really hard to tighten those bolts with. Okay, so now we've got our cleaned up armature plate that's ready to go back on. Right now I can't really see it, but I'm working the gasket on from the other side. And on goes the armature plate. we're putting the 3 screws back in that hold the plate on. I'm feeding the new spark plug wire up into the armature plate. I left myself a little bit of slack there in order to plug the wire into the side of the coil. I'm going to try to use the original coil and see how it works. I have a spare, a new one that I purchased if this one doesn't, but I figured I'd give it a try. Sometimes when you take this old stuff out and you have to move the wires around, it causes issues, especially that wire that goes from the condenser to the coil is notorious for cracking, considering it's been sitting there for many, many years without moving. But we'll give it a shot. Okay, so now I'm trying to get the coil back in now that I've got the spark plug wire put in. Now I was actually on the right path here. You can see there's a little notch where the points go in, and that's where that condenser coil wire is supposed to run. You're supposed to put that wire in first before you put the points in. And for some reason here, I go ahead and put the points in first, and the wire kind of got pinched under the points or over the points. Now I'm putting the 2 screws in that hold the coil in. And pulling the slack out of the spark plug wire at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and screw the spark plug in just hand tight, make sure that the new coil wire has enough length on it, which it seems like it does. Okay, this is where I made the mistake. I put my point down first, and my wire got kind of pinched between the base of the point and the top portion, arm of the point. So I had to go back and take the condenser off and the points off and rerun the wire underneath. At this point, I'm just spinning the crankshaft to make sure that the points are closing, opening and closing. And there's that small clip I was talking about that holds the points on. And I just used a flathead screwdriver to snap that on. And there's your governor lever going back on, and the black cover that covers the points. I'm actually not, I end up taking that off, that black cover. I don't really think it has a point other than being a dust cover. But once I put the engine back on, and if I have any issues with spark,
it makes it really difficult to troubleshoot the points, because then you have to remove the entire governor in order to get this black cover off. So here you go, I'm deciding, hey, let me not put that black cover on there until I know it's running. So the black cover goes away, and now I'm putting my governor back on. There's the governor collar. And the top section of it goes back on. So at this point, we're putting the flywheel on. I painted the flywheel screen yellow to match the shroud and the rest of the mower. Flywheel washer. And then your flywheel pulley. And last but not least, the flywheel nut.
Thanks for coming back for part 2 of the Lawn Boy 3052 restoration. We got the engine completely cleaned up, painted, and reassembled. Come back for part 3. We're gonna go ahead and finish up the mower, get it all put back together, and get it running. Thanks for watching.